This podcast is a proud member of the UUOP network.
Greetings everyone, and welcome to the unofficial Universal Great Britain podcast. I'm Dawn, and I'm here with Guy, Tracy and Lee, and we are here to continue delving into the Universal theme park coming to Bedford in the UK.
For episode 10, we are going to discuss the current UK and European theme park landscape as far as competition to the Universal Bedford Park, and then we will bring you the next segment of our topic, the Universal difference, and discuss the bubble.
So the theme park landscape in the UK isn't a very vast one. I've looked at this quite a lot before we started, when we came up with the topic for this episode. And to be fair, the major theme parks in this country are all owned by Merlin. Which, as far as like a worldwide branding, doesn't have a bad reputation, but it doesn't have a huge reputation. So anyway,
I think it's got a declining reputation.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to get into it because there's definitely things happened, I think, since the announcement of this park coming to Bedford. But yeah, so it means there's not a lot of actual competition in the UK, I feel, theme park wise, for Universal. Now, Europe's a different story. And this is something I know you guys have some experience of. Tracy and I have, but not for a very long time. Because you've got the likes of Europa Park, Phantasialand, Disneyland Paris, Efteling and Portaventura, to name a few. And they are very, very different to what we expect from a theme park. Because, again, going back to the last episode, what we have in this country for the most part are very much amusement parks.
I was going to say they're amusement rather than theme, yes.
They have like themed areas, but they are amusement parks with little islands of that.
Yeah.
The sort of 4 or 5 I've just mentioned there in Europe, they're very much more along the theme park realm.
But it's not as big. I don't know, I haven't been to Europa Park or Efteling or Portaventura, but referring to Phantasialand, that is definitely themed.
Very much themed and very well themed.
And very...
I mean, okay, the thing about Phantasialand is the theming isn't...
immersive enough.
Some areas are. It's not, it's not even throughout the park. You have the area with Fly, Rookburg, and then there's the area with Taron. Actually, maybe I've got that the wrong way around. Either way, the areas around those two rides are very densely themed.
That coaster looks amazing, by the way.
But some of the other areas of the park don't have that same level. So
you don't feel like... Well, when I was walking through that, I didn't really feel like I was in that bubble as I would compared with Disneyland.
It's almost like Diagon Alley, where you've got small areas which you go into, and then they're incredibly well themed. But when you go out of those areas, it's not quite...
No, even if you go out of Diagon Alley, it's still themed.
Yeah, I agree.
Everywhere you walk in the Universal parks is themed. Unless you walk out, literally exit the park.
Yeah.
I mean, even exiting the park as City Walk, it's still...
No, I agree with you. What I meant was that they have some areas which are like little pockets with incredibly detailed theming.
So you're talking about the likes of Nocturne Alley. So Nocturne Alley is like completely themed, whereas... Is that what you're talking about, Guy?
No, I'm saying that, okay, so Diagon Alley is like it's a small area which has incredibly dense theming.
Right.
And whilst there's no areas in Phantasialand which are quite that level, there are small areas which are very densely themed, but then there's other areas which aren't so themed. So they have some very well themed lands, but they don't have that level of theming throughout the whole park.
So a little like Alton Towers then. I mean, their more highly themed areas are like the kids areas.
Yeah.
Whatever's sponsoring that area at the time is highly themed, and the rest of it's just like where what's it called now?
Gloomy Wood. That's what.
Yeah, Gloomy Wood. Into like where
really
I don't know what it's called now. It was
Gloomy Wood.
No, what the ride's called?
Curse of Alton Manor.
Yeah, that area's highly themed, but then the rest of it's
like the walk to and from that that Gloomy Wood area is such a weird space because it's Alton Towers is a difficult one to talk about because it's very much hamstrung of being built
in the valley,
an already existing thing.
Yeah,
I mean, Alton Towers, some areas of it are stunning. It's a beautiful theme park.
Oh yeah,
that's not due to what's been done. That's just due to the environment that it was built within.
Yeah.
But then that also causes problems. I know we've had Tracy's mobility has been up and down for many years, and I remember going, and it's like you need to be. Everyone talks about going to Orlando and needing to be fit and healthy, and you're going to walk miles. Jesus, if you spent the same amount of time at Alton Towers that you spent, like even say doing Halloween Horror Nights, I swear that Alton Towers would take way more of a toll on you because it's built on the grounds of Alton Towers. Yeah, it's all up and downhill. Whereas at least in Orlando, for the most part, it's flat ground.
Yeah.
Also, if you go to Alton Towers on a day that the Skyride is down, there's
no quick way to get from one area to the next.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time that I was actually going when we've been there. And you never go to Alton Towers on a cold, wet day, really, if you can help it, do you? So you trudging up down those hills in hot, sticky weather, and it's just gross. But Portaventura, I mean, I know it's a long time since we've been there, but
I can imagine
that's highly themed.
I can only imagine it's got better from where we're there. It's funnily enough, a friend of ours, a listener to UUOP's just been, Lisa Tanding.
Oh, okay.
She's just been over there because I follow her on Instagram. I mean, it's nearly 30 years since we went there, but you want to talk about...
I'm only 29.
A theme park. It's at least it was then, and again, I can only imagine that it's got better. But talk about fully immersed, themed areas. Amazing. There's like a Far East, which I don't know whether you can get away with calling it that now.
It's probably been renamed.
It's like careful with that nowadays. Yeah,
it's like a Wild West area.
That was cool.
The
Mediterranean Village.
Yeah, that's where you went in.
Port of entry kind of area.
I'm trying to remember now. It's absolutely gorgeous, and we've actually reached out to someone we've had on UUOP before who actually worked at Portaventura for Universal, like subcontracting for Universal when Universal owned it back in, I think we talked about it on the first show, it was like 97 to like 2000 and something. So I think it's a really interesting one because Universal, like as far as the UK, they're not going to have much competition.
I think we're very familiar with the UK parks. I think it's worth just doing a brief overview of what we're talking about here, because there's 3 main Merlin theme parks in this country. There is the market leader, or has been for a long time, with Alton Towers, which is the most famous theme park.
Yeah.
There's then 2 in the south. Well, okay, Alton Towers is North Midlands. It's further up. Then there's 2 south of London. There's Thorpe Park and Chesington World of Adventures. Thorpe Park has been positioned over the past decade as the thrill park. It's the one which gets the roller coasters. It's the one for teenagers. And Chesington, in the late 90s, was more for everyone. But when they started investing in Thorpe as the thrill park, Chesington became the family park.
Because it's also got a zoo.
It does have a zoo. So those were 3 main theme parks.
Which was the biggest?
Alton Towers is the biggest.
Yeah, Alton Towers.
Yeah. Thorpe Park has the most roller coasters.
It does.
And thrill rides. And Chesington is the family park.
So we've been to Alton Towers multiple times. We've been to Thorpe Park and haven't ridden a single thing there. Why? Why have you been to Thorpe Park and not ridden any rides, you might ask? We went for ScareCon, but unbeknownst to us, even though in all the bump that it came through, it's like, oh, you're not supposed to be in the park, you're not guests of the park. Everyone in the con was like, they just pissed off and went and rode all the coasters.
Except for us.
And yet didn't tell us, so I was quite devastated at the point where I just wanted to ride Swarm, quite honestly. I've never done a wing rider, and I just wanted to ride Swarm, but we didn't.
I mean, when I was in my 20s, I had a Merlin annual pass, so I went to Alton Towers, Thorpe Park and Chesington, at least one of them every week or so for a good couple of years. Thorpe Park was like our local park. We'd sometimes just go down there for like the afternoon, do a few rides, have a few beers and then head home. And Thorpe is a very, very compact park. But I think a lot of people who come to England are surprised by it because they don't expect much of that one. They expect more of Alton Towers, and their experience is the other way around, especially at this point in time. But I haven't been to Alton Towers or Thorpe Park probably for over a decade.
I read somewhere that Alton Towers is building a new roller coaster, or they're refurbing a roller coaster, and I wondered whether that was.
Are they? I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard anything.
I think I saw something on Instagram
because they redid Nemesis, didn't they?
They retracked it entirely. I mean, Nemesis is a great ride, to be fair.
It's all right. According to Google, there's nothing.
Oh, okay.
What you may have seen, and I was going to bring this up later, is there's another theme park in this country, and I'm saying theme park because of what I'm about to talk about, and that's Paulton's Park.
Okay.
Now,
Oh, yeah, maybe
Paulton's
it may have
Park,
been that then.
Yeah, it's around 45, 50 minutes away from us down here on the south coast. And historically, that has been very much a family park. It's got Peppa Pig World attached to it, which is like, I know, it's for anyone who's not familiar with Peppa Pig. It's a children's TV thing with a pig, and they have a small theme park as part of Paulton's Park.
I think most people listening to this will know who Peppa Pig is, because Peppa Pig's quite big in America as well, to be fair, at this point.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea. I'm not the one to be talking about Peppa Pig. I've got no idea. I just know it's an animated pig. But they are opening in a couple of weeks, and actually what looks like a fairly densely themed Viking land with like a Eurofighter inverting coaster. I think is their first invert. And track has recently been spotted for, I think, like an Intamin water coaster for next year.
Interesting.
So they are investing, and Lee and Tracy, I'll send you both some pictures that I've seen. Okay. But the Viking area looks impressive for a UK park.
Where is it?
It's like 45 minutes away near Southampton.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I think we should go and have a look.
I think if you're talking about sort of major parks in the UK as well, it's hardly a theme park, but it's, funnily enough, it actually, I'm sure I read somewhere recently, I nearly put it in the show notes for this, that it won some award in the Thea Awards recently, and that's Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Now, I've never been. It's somewhere I've always wanted to go, but it won it was like third in the world, beating the Universal Parks. And I was like, what? Even the person that posted it was like, how is this even true? I'm going to have to look it up
I've been to Blackpool as a kid. I remember I went there to ride the Pepsi Max at the top. Pepsi Max big one. I don't think it's called the Pepsi Max big one anymore.
I think it's just called the big one now, isn't it?
I have ridden that once. Yes.
But
I've never been to Blackpool.
I've been to Blackpool once, and I was a kid, and we were coming home coming home from Wales via Blackpool because we met up with some friends. So I've never actually done anything there other than mini golf.
I mean, I do think that over the next 5 years, we should try, as a group of 4, to get to as many of the UK parks as we can, and do an episode in each one.
I don't know where all the money's coming from. Apparently, guys paying for it all.
This is why we need to start the OnlyFans, but people pay us to keep our clothes on.
Over the next 5 years, if we can average one park a year for 5 years, we'll get through, most of them.
So apparently it was TripAdvisor's 2026 Traveller's Choice ranked 10th globally and 6th in Europe for amusement and water parks. And I'm like, have you been anywhere else in the world?
I mean, Valhalla's meant to be a great ride.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks like it's got some great rides, but it is the definition of an amusement park. 100%.
Yeah.
We went to a tiny what was the place? Southport. What was it called?
I don't remember what it was called, but it was in Southport.
There was
what was it called?
The Traumatizer. It was sponsored. So it was sponsored by Tizer.
Wow.
So it was a splendid coaster, and I actually remember
that was our first one ever.
Really good. No, it wasn't.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, he's wrong, but it was.
Well, we'd ridden Nemesis before that, so that's not true. Trust me, because it was Gordon. We went down to see Gordon.
You said, trust me, so many times I'm being wrong.
Anyway, and then the closest, our home park, we haven't been for a long time actually, is Flamingo Land. And as far as, the difficult thing is, we're talking about competition, and you're talking about Universal, like one of the biggest companies in the world, even up against Merlin. It's like you look at, there's Merlin stuff in Orlando at this point, or Central Florida.
Don't they own Sea Life, and do they operate Legoland?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They do over here, at least, I think.
Yes, and that's down in Tampa, isn't it? Actually, I don't know where. Isn't it on the old... What was the gardens called in Orlando that got changed out?
That I wanted to go to and never got to.
My brain does not work anymore.
It had the bell tower.
It was Summit Gardens. Where is Legoland? Where is...
Because it had the minaret.
Legoland? Cypress Gardens.
Cypress Gardens.
Yes, it's on the old Cypress Gardens.
As in the tree, not the country.
When the shit goes down, you better get ready. You better get ready. Anyway, not that.
Wow.
So yeah, Flamingo. We're talking about Flamingo Land is a very it doesn't have the budget. We're talking about parks over here that do not have the budget of a Universal or a Disney, so they're always going to pale in comparison. But to be fair, Flamingo Land is relatively well themed for what it is,
because that team travels the world to other theme parks, and we know because there was a documentary on it.
The guy who owned it, I don't know whether he still does.
Anymore.
You could see he'd been to Orlando and visited Disney World and Universal, because he tried to implement it on obviously a much, much smaller scale, but you could see the influences of things that he was trying to do that he'd seen over there. And it's not a bad little park, to be quite honest.
I always loved it.
Where is it? Is it close to you guys?
It's about an hour down the road from us.
Yeah, about an hour and 20 minutes. It's not far from York, actually.
It's not far from York.
It is not far from York.
It's a really, it is a decent park. It's got a zoo there and stuff, and it's like the zoo went to rack and ruin for the longest time, and then they kind of pared it back and concentrated on what they did have
and
there.
conservation
so
and
it's
everything.
a lot smaller now, but the park...
So is that why it's called Flamingo Land?
Yeah, originally it was just a family park with a flamingo lake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
I think we told the story, didn't we?
You can go to the original part. It's still there with the original little archway and everything.
I think we told the story in our first episode of Get to Know Your Host that Tracy and I, at like 5 and 6, were in that park at the same time.
At the same time,
yeah.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
It really is crazy.
And Lee got away with setting that fire.
But yeah, it's when you look at the UK, there is going to be whatever the level this Universal Park's going to be, and I still stand by, I don't think it's going to be on a level of anything in Orlando. I think it will be more something along the lines of Singapore, or not Hollywood, because Hollywood's a little bit different.
I think it'll be closer to Beijing than Singapore.
I don't think it will be like... I think they pumped a lot of money into Beijing, and I don't think it's going to be on that scale or size. If you look at the attraction roster of Beijing and compare that to the concept art, Beijing has... one big roller coaster, Clone Hulk. It's got the indoor Jurassic Park kind of little roller coaster. It's got one big dark ride. I think it's comparable based on what we know so far.
So is the Universal Park in Beijing completely owned by Universal, or is it all half run by the government?
Chinese government, yeah. I think.
And the Singapore the same?
Singapore's a weird one. We've actually just watched, we were talking to you guys about it earlier, the Mammoth Club, who they've just did Universal Singapore, and that was them wrapping up. They've now been to every Universal park in the world, which I'm completely jealous of at this point. And it's such a weird, tiny little park, Singapore. It's very odd.
I like
it. Does have the Jurassic Park Rapids ride though, which I would like to go on.
And it was closed the day they went.
Oh no!
Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's a killer.
Yeah.
But just there's going to be no real competition in this country for it. If you're a theme park fan, my concern is going to be how they price it. And I said there's something that happened in this country that I think is a direct response to the announcement of this park coming, and that was Alton Towers dropping their ticket prices substantially for this year.
Yes, they really did.
Because the annual passes are cheap as well.
Well, we haven't talked about it on the show, but we talked about getting together. Now, for those who don't know, Guy and Dawn are
about as south as you can get.
About 8 hours distance in a car between the four of us at this point.
So it's 4.5 hours. 4.5.
No, it's 5 hours to Manchester.
It took us 5 hours to get to London.
Okay, for us, it's around 4.5 hours to York.
And we're about an hour and a half at least up from that.
Okay. 6. Yeah, we're about as far away as you can get in England without being down in Devon.
I find it quite funny that you're closer to France than you are to us.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah.
Put it this way, we're only an hour and a half away from, by train from the Scottish border.
Anyway, this is what we were talking about.
In 6 or 7 years, we'll be living in Bedford, so
So going back and actually getting to the point, we talked about, because we haven't met up in this country, we talked about going to Alton Towers this year, and finances aren't great for me and Tracy at the moment, so we didn't do it, but they were offering to book a one-night stay and get annual passes as part of it for, I think if you booked it before March 5th or something ridiculous like that. But I remember the last time we went, a day ticket to get into Alton Towers being just shy of 50 quid. Those tickets are £27 right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's not a discounted thing. That's how much they are.
Yeah.
So for Alton Towers to be offering £27 tickets across the board tells me they are their pants right now. And they are trying to build a fan base now that will stick with them when this park opens. And it is going to be interesting now. I'm going to start actually soon because I want to do, we've done it on UUOP for Epic Universe of doing like a predictions episode. Like, how much do we think a night in the hotel will be? And how much do we think a ticket will be? And all this blah, blah, blah. I'll be very interested to see what a one-day ticket to this park will look like.
Was the base level Merlin annual pass that includes 20 attractions, including all those 3 theme parks you mentioned, Legoland, Windsor, Sea Life, all around the country, is £139.
Wow. How much was before? Do you remember?
I'm not sure how much it was before. When I was younger and I had it, it was cheaper, but then that was also, 15 years ago.
It'd be interesting to know how much it was before and how much they've dropped.
I'm sure I could work it out. But yeah, £139 for a year of access to all of those.
And you look at the base annual pass, like the seasonal annual pass for Universal Orlando at this point. Well, I know exactly how much it is because I was looking at it yesterday. It's $430, which is what, about 300 quid?
Mm-hmm.
And that has blackout dates and, you don't get... I tell you, just made me think of that now. One thing that pisses me off about Alton Towers is that you have to pay for parking.
Yeah.
It's not something you have to do at a lot of theme parks over here. And that pisses me off. You kind of put up with it when you go to Orlando. I mean, we don't know because we haven't had a car for a while. But it used to annoy me that you'd go for 2 weeks and you'd spend $200 or $300 just on parking your car at a theme park. I remember having conversations with people, think how much are Disney making in parking alone at the Magic Kingdom?
Oh, huge amounts.
Mm-hmm.
If you think the average daily crowd at the Magic Kingdom is, 50,000. So let's say half of those people travelled by car, and the average car has 3 people in it. And the parking was like 20, I think it's not even more than that. It's probably $30 now. I think it's $36 to park at Universal.
Ouch.
So let me see if I can get my brain working. We've got 50,000, so 25,000 divided
it's only
by
$35 per day at the Magic Kingdom.
Times how much? 35?
35.
So just as a ballpark figure, they're making $30,000 a day just in parking alone. That's just at one of their parks. They've got another 3 doing something similar.
That's for 2 water parks.
So they're probably making $1 million a day in parking alone. That's mental.
But I think it's free after 6. But
It
still,
is.
I guess.
At Universal.
At Universal, yeah.
I think. I'm not even sure whether that is anymore.
In Orlando,
Notice.
you just kind of accept it because all the parks do it. There's the caliber of the parks. And also, to be fair to Disney, when you get into the car park, you get in a little tram. They shuttle you to your car and back. So there is something beyond just a car park.
Don't give me that. That's because they want you in the park spending a fortune on overpriced merch and food as quick as they possibly can. It's got nothing to do with making
you... is saying that over here, it kicks you slightly, it hits you slightly differently at Alton Towers
to
than
be
it does
fair,
to at Disney.
Alton Towers has a monorail that gets you to the park.
Yeah, but you still have to
does.
walk to the monorail. There's not like a service to your car. I mean, it's not defendable. I'm just saying how it feels different here to when you're there.
But then Universal, if you are a Premier or Preferred annual pass holder, you get free regular self-parking
Yes.
at the park.
And I think if you're a Power Pass holder, you get 50% off preferred parking. I think as a Premier Pass holder, you get it's either free or discounted valet parking as well.
Oh, Premier and Preferred are free regular.
Yeah, I think they get 50% discount on valet parking as well then.
Oh.
And Express after 4.
Oh, yeah, Express after 4.
But I think it'll be interesting to see how much car parking is. And I think that's something that's going to annoy a lot of people in this country. Because I think they'll do it. They'll look at Alton Towers and say, well, if they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who aren't used to going to the US parks, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Europe, but that'll be something that they're not used to. And it will rankle quite a few people, I'm sure.
Yes, but it's one of those things where no one's not going to go because there's a car parking fee.
I know,
but it's just fees which annoys you and you deal with.
Yes, it's frustrating. It's like we've spent a lot of time at our local hospital and they charge you £7 to park in there for an hour, and that pisses me off. When Tracy went to Korea, I dropped her off and picked her up at Newcastle Airport, and to spend 3 minutes in that car park cost me 15 quid.
Shocking, isn't it? Even at Heathrow and Gatwick, there's a fee just to drop off now, not even going to the car park.
Yeah.
Just to,
It's ridiculous.
And then I'm wondering whether, going back to all of this, the what do you call the information packs, they're big on environment and sustainability. And I wonder whether they're just going to encourage people to take public transport.
I'm sure they will.
Instead of parking, and maybe aim the parking fees slightly higher so that people, I mean, I know public transport is very expensive anyway, but I wonder whether they're going to try and price it so that to encourage people to. That is
certainly something they can tell you to justify the.
I don't think people will.
I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if we had a park and ride.
Well, don't forget we already know, like Dawn said, through all those packs and stuff, that they're building out the infrastructure for the local train station and stuff to add a lot of travel in there. But as you said, public transport isn't necessarily that accommodating when traveling to a specific destination like this. It's not like it's in a major city. It's outside of it, so I think you'll still find a lot of people would probably still pay that parking fee because it's just more convenient.
But that it actually does raise an interesting point, which is Alton Towers, there is no way to get there via public transport.
No, because it is literally in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Chessington, you can get a train to Chessington Station, but then you have to walk a long way to the amusement park. This is going to be the only
What
park.
about Thorpe Park?
Thorpe Park is the same thing. There's
You
no
have to drive.
Yeah.
Flamingo
Land.
Land's,
get a bus.
Flamingo Land's very much the same. Very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
So Universal is going to be the first park here which has dedicated transport links.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show the scale is quite different to anything else.
And that
And they're
investment
building a train station as well, aren't they?
They are,
Yeah, and that means they are really investing in the locality, and they've looked at the bigger picture, which is what they do.
Yeah,
I think it's very much from a point of view of we have to make it easy for people to get here.
Because if you were visiting London as a tourist and you wanted to do a day trip to Thorpe Park or Chessington, it's not an easy thing to do. Whereas Universal want to make it, you just hop on a train and you come here.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't think there's any direct competition in the UK, really. If people go to Alton Towers and then go to this Universal Park, and it's going to be, they're going to go, it's night and day. It's literally night and day.
Yeah.
The competition comes from Europe, and I think that's interesting because Universal can't rely solely on people from or living in the UK to go. They're going to need to grab some of that market share out of Europe, and that's where the challenge is for me.
Yeah.
We've named half a dozen parks there that are maybe not quite Universal quality, but not a kick in the arse off.
But especially since we've had the announcement a few months ago that obviously we can get a train from St Pancras through to Paris. That rail line is actually getting expanded into, I think it was Belgium to Germany as well. So, that's bringing those parks closer to us Brits as well.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, I think Universal is used to that sort of competition because, I mean, with Orlando.
With Disney.
Yes.
Disney is literally about 20 minutes drive.
I mean, those two are the market leaders worldwide. And interestingly, in England, their closest direct competition will be Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
And Disneyland Paris has, when you break it down, they have a dedicated train station almost outside the entrance to the park.
Yeah, that you can get from King's Cross straight to Mon-la-Valley?
Mon-la-Valley or something
it's
similar.
Mon-la-Valley.
We've done that a few times over the past few years. It works well, and it does make it much easier to get there. You don't have to worry about, flying to Paris and then getting a rental car. You just get a train straight there, and you walk out the train station with your suitcase and you've arrived.
And even if you fly into Paris, you can just take a train.
You have a TGV stop there.
Yeah. It's very easy accessible.
It's also a thing. It's going to be interesting because I think when Disneyland Paris came to Paris, there's a huge brand recognition with Disney. And yes, Universal are on the map more now. But I think among the Europe and the UK, Universal doesn't necessarily have the same brand recognition that Disney does. I've asked you guys this before. We're huge Universal fans, the four of us. That's our primary focus when we go to Orlando.
Yeah.
When you're at home in the UK, how often do you see people wearing Universal branded merchandise, T-shirts, hoodies, whatever it might be? I've seen, as far as, other than getting often on a plane at Manchester Airport, I think I've seen one person, and funnily enough, it was a guy we know, but he didn't come over and see us at Scream Factory, was wearing a Halloween Horror Nights hoodie at a scare event we went to last year. But you never see people with...
But even on the plane going to...
It's mostly Disney stuff.
Into MCO.
Disney.
I don't think I've ever seen
it's
anyone
rare.
wearing anything but a Disney.
I mean, you see people wearing Disney World shirts when you go shopping over here.
Yeah.
Disney is a huge thing. I think that means Universal, they don't have necessarily that name recognition in theme parks, outside of the United States or China and Singapore. So they're going to have to lean more heavily into these are the IPs we have. These are the movies you can experience.
I feel like they don't have, I think we touched on this before, their merchandise isn't as vast as Disney is.
No, that's true.
I mean, their merchandise is more sort of like Harry Potter.
Again, they rely more on the IPs than on the Universal brand.
And whereas Disney, there's just the Mickey ears is literally everywhere.
And you think about how many merchandise sort of collaborations they have. Like you go to Primark and there's always Disney stuff in there. So you think about, yes, they do some stuff for Christmas. There's a lot of Grinch stuff in there as well. But yeah, it really annoys me. I think honestly, even if you wander around MCO waiting to go to your gate, it's mostly Disney stuff that you see.
Disney,
Yeah.
The Universal little stores are tucked away.
And that's going to be a big challenge for Universal. It's all right saying that they can lean on the IPs, but you've still got to get that name out there in the first place. And I think it's difficult for us because we are such big Universal fans that we know what's coming and we know what to expect and we know what a big deal it is. It'd be interesting to see what the average person actually thinks of Universal.
It is quite kind of easy to forget that we just assume so much knowledge of this. And whereas we know that there are people who go to Hollywood studios at Disney and ask where the Harry Potter section is.
Yeah.
It's worth reminding ourselves that our level of Universal awareness is very different to the rest of the population.
I don't think I'm as up there with you guys.
But you know a lot about Universal.
Yeah. Now I do. But like before, I think a lot of people will probably think what I thought before, and Universal was just Universal Pictures.
Yeah.
It's just movies. There's no... Because Universal and Hollywood, that's the only Universal that I really knew about. And that is not...
I think things have changed over the past decade or so with the Harry Potter.
Yes.
But there's 100%. more... To me, that's still... It's just like a studio tour.
I mean, for most people, Universal in Orlando is still an add-on to a Disney World holiday. At least it is for the UK people going over.
That's what it was before for us.
What? I wish I'd known that before we started this bloody podcast.
No, we used to split our time.
You mentioned it before.
Yeah, we used to
split our time between Disney and Universal.
Shocking. So did we, but we were still Universal people.
Oh, we were very much
Disney
Universal.
first.
We weren't.
Yes,
I was still fell in. We came back from that first trip completely Universal
Yes, we did.
centric.
But we went out Disney centric.
Because we didn't know anything else.
Exactly. So we just have to educate people.
I've told you before, Islands Adventure in 1999 changed everything for me. I was Universal, but we tied it into like doing a week at Disney and then a week at Universal. That was kind of our standard thing. We'd always look forward to the Universal, segment because then we could relax and, take things slower. But it was still back then, even for us, just part of the same trip. Whereas now it's just Universal.
Yeah, I was thinking I've seen a lot more Universal commercials recently as well, like on YouTube and stuff. But then you start looking and going, is that just because it's my algorithm? Like we talk about Universal, we Google Universal stuff. So it's like you can have, sorry guy, but you're going to have to bleep this out, but it's the analogy I'm going to. If we're talking about at home, suddenly I'm going to get...
As we do.
Suddenly I'm going to get a load of...
About at home?
Why does your brain go to
I don't know.
Why not?
All things.
Funny, isn't it? So suddenly I'm getting a lot of YouTube adverts for
guys, get up.
right? Is the point I'm making. So I don't even know, are we getting a lot of Universal ads because it's very much something that we're searching, watching, reading, looking for?
Why couldn't you just use a
Tracy, shut
painkiller
up.
or something?
Yeah, no, why do you? Anyway.
Why do you have to still keep going on about it?
Because we're confused about.
Although the lighthouse in Islands of Adventure is very phallic.
Yes, yeah, that's fair.
But the point I'm trying to make is
it so much. It's my favorite icon.
The point I'm trying to make is I don't even know if I'm seeing more Universal adverts watching stuff on YouTube.
So Lee,
because
I think the only way around that is seeing if there's more adverts on TV.
See, we don't have normal TV, so I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing to watch out for, because that doesn't go into your algorithms.
I know this is not a legitimate metric, but when I talk to non-theme park fans about Universal and Disney, they all know that Disney is Space Mountain. They know that Disney is Haunted Mansion. They know that
Mickey
Disney
Mouse.
is Pirates of the Caribbean. They know some of these attractions. With Universal, if they know anything at all, it is Harry Potter, and they don't really know anything beyond that.
Strange, isn't it? It's strange how, like, we've talked about it a lot on UUOP, that since COVID, like, Universal came out of the blocks after COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Being so aggressive that they didn't leave Disney behind, but you had Velocicoaster getting built at the time, so they walked out of COVID with a brand new coaster, the Born Stuntacular, which let's not talk about that right now because it saddens me what's going on with that at the moment. But
wait, what's going on with that?
Because no one knows it exists.
Like having to stand outside with signs being like, please come and watch our show.
It's the best theme park show in the world ever, and no one seems to know it.
Which I'm shocked by, because I've never been into an empty viewing of that.
Exists, but anyway, and they've been so aggressive. Then you have all the sort of promotion and stuff of Epic Universe opening, where you're starting to see people who I talk to people at work and stuff who don't really know about theme parks, are like, oh, what's this Epic Universe thing? And it's, they've opened Beijing since then, and it's become much bigger, but it's still only seems to be well known among people who are theme park fans in the first place, which I don't understand. You'd think and again, it's funny, we've talked about it a lot. It's quite relevant right now. We're coming round to the year anniversary of the opening of Epic Universe.
Yes, which is crazy.
I don't know whether we've mentioned it on here, but because of our other podcast, Tracy and I got to go out for the media event last year.
Not jealous at all.
It still blows my mind that it actually happened. And it's a lot of people have always said to us, why aren't you guys getting invited to media events and stuff? Because we don't, for the most part. We get Halloween Horror Nights every year, and we got this, but for the most part, we don't get invited to anything else. No. It's like, you guys should be getting invited to things like that. And I'm like, should we really though? It's like the people that we're promoting this thing to are Universal fans. They already know that stuff exists. We're preaching to the choir. They should be reaching out to all these other influencers like beauty and dance, all this other crap that's out there.
So
that's reaching outside of that theme park bubble, because they're the people they need to get involved and get interested in, because they don't know that these things exist.
So what I hear
devil's
then
advocate is UUOP has got us booking Universal trips when we wouldn't otherwise necessarily have booked one.
There you go.
Yes, but
again,
you
how
found
many people?
UUOP because of your obsession with Universal.
That's true.
Why would anyone else?
But we've spent more money at Universal because of UUOP than we would have otherwise. Standing in like the field in January with the dog.
I think what Lee's saying is getting other people involved with Universal that wouldn't otherwise be. Like that flight attendant.
I agree.
She never knew the podcast existed until I told her.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you guys should be invited to these things, but I also understand why they want to invite people who aren't making Universal-centric content.
That's it. The point I'm making is we talked to a lot of people during that media event, and we were the anomalies. So that Tracy used to joke all the time.
It was awful.
You'd go, "Hi, my name's Lee, Tracy. Oh, what's your name?" You're like, "Oh, so and so, so and so." Like, "Oh, what do you do?"
It was weird.
And they'd be like, "Oh, I'm a freelance writer for," we met a guy who was a freelance writer for the Scottish Sun, and a guy who wrote for Empire magazine, or a guy who wrote for some New York paper, or there was a girl who I dress up as people and dance on the internet, or I'm an Instagram comedian or whatever it might be. And they go, "Oh, what do you?" It's like, "Oh, we have a podcast on Universal." What, just Universal? Like, yeah. And we were the anomalies, and everyone's like, the amount of people we talk to, it's like, no, you are the guys that should be going. Then I'm like, yeah, but the people that we're talking to, The people that listen to our podcast know Universal exists.
Yeah, but what we're doing, though, is when you've got people on the fence, should we go this year? Shouldn't we go this way? We will probably persuade people one way or the other with what we are reporting.
Or they're planning a trip and how much time should we spend at Universal?
No, I know.
There's so much there.
We've literally just spent 20 minutes talking about how the average person doesn't know Universal exists. That they know Disney. So we're not moving the needle at all when it comes to people who want to visit Universal parks.
But when people start looking to book a trip to Orlando, they tend to look into what else is there.
Yeah.
They hear about Universal and they may listen to the podcast to find out a bit more about it. And then they get, sold on the idea that it's more than just a day trip from Disney.
It will be very interesting when this park opens, if we're still going, to see whether we get invited to the media event for that. And when I say we, I mean us or UUOP, whatever. I've been told we're not going if it's UUOP anyway. Chris and Michelle are taking it, but I'll fight them for it. But yeah, they need to reach outside of the bubble of people who already know about Universal.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the UK park.
What's going to be really interesting is how far in advance of that park opening they start doing any form of advertising. If it's opening in 2031, when do they start, putting some adverts out there, letting people know this is coming, it will involve this IP, this is who we are, look at this B-roll.
When did they start advertising for other parks?
So I think when Epic was due to open last year, they released those like portal videos, didn't like the fly-throughs and stuff, and I want to say it was about a year out at the earliest.
I think general awareness is much bigger in the States about Universal because they advertise on TV.
Okay, but what about like Beijing and Singapore and?
No idea.
When do they start advertising?
I mean, the argument is we don't know because they've never advertised those parks outside of those.
Here, yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Beijing
or even in
pandemic.
I was going to say Beijing was a weird one, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had friends who worked on Beijing, and I remember them going out for the second thing during COVID, and they had to go like in quarantine. They were put all in separate rooms and were quarantined for 14 days before they could actually then go and work in the park.
We had the same thing in Hong Kong during the pandemic. We had a 7-day hotel quarantine. It was very weird.
But yeah, it's funny. This is what I like. We started this conversation talking about one thing, and it's opened a complete different conversation. But it is interesting. I'd love to be the type of person who could just go out into the street in my local town and just pull. It's like, can I ask you a few questions and go, "Are you aware of Disney World?" and see what you get the answers of.
Yeah.
Or then going like, "Are you aware of Merlin? Are you aware of?" I don't know, whatever, Six Flags, are you aware of Universal as a theme park? It'd be interesting just to, get them to go, can you name me a Universal attraction? And see what they come up with. I think you're probably right. Most people would say something Harry Potter.
So, interestingly, certain Universal T-shirts that I wear, like I keep our local coffee shop running. And I haul up there and meet my friends and everything. So I'll be waiting in line, and quite often I'll be wearing a Universal T-shirt. And the amount of times that people will ask me about the shirt, and they don't realise that there are Universal parks in Orlando because it's just drilled into them. That's Disney. That's the home of Disney.
Strange, isn't it?
And I've introduced quite a few people. In fact, I know somebody who just from talking to me in that coffee shop has actually booked to go out to Orlando for Universal, not Disney, and that's thanks to my little Epic Universe Classic Monsters
shirt. So what
shirt.
questions or what comments do you get?
Usually it's just
t-shirts?
like, "Oh, that's an interesting shirt. What's that say? What's that about?" Usually it's the Chibi Monsters one that gets the most. Because
is that the white one with the blue outline?
Oh, yeah.
I got that shirt last time we were there.
Yeah, and because
really
it's usually
cute.
somebody stood
Really
behind
is.
me, and they'll say, and it's usually a guy, because girls tend not to want to disturb people. And the most common thing is, "What's on your shirt?" And I'll turn around and say, "Oh, this is the front." And they'll go, "Oh, Classic Monsters," and start naming them. And it just sparks a conversation. "Oh, that's a really cool shirt." I go, "Oh, that's from Universal Studios." "What's that?"
Like, how do you not know what that is? I know. It's weird, isn't it? It's very strange.
I think if you haven't been on like holiday to Florida from the UK, you just wouldn't know.
No. You probably know it as Universal Pictures. That's what I did.
Yeah.
But then, all right, then. So to play devil's advocate a little bit, you only have to go back. Like, how big are Ant and Dec in this country? Huge.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right?
The Saturday Night Takeaway.
So if you used to watch Saturday Night Takeaway, yes, you know Disney World exists because they've done the season finale at Disney World, but they've also done it at Universal twice.
They've done it twice, haven't they?
Oh, and One Direction was there at Universal as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not like it's not
Florida
like
is a huge holiday destination of Brits.
Yeah,
it is, and I think anyone who goes there or engages with Florida sort of content will be aware of Universal, but it's everyone else. So people who don't go to Florida or have no interest in Florida think of it as Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
It annoys me the amount of times we watch a lot of game shows in our household. Tipping Point's one we like to just sling on a night while we're working and just have something on in the background. The amount of times Ben Shepherd will be like, so what are you hoping to spend your money on? I go, I want to take my son to Disneyland in Florida. And it's like, no, Disneyland's in California or Paris, not fucking
Orlando. And you want to go Universal, not Disney.
Yeah, it's but again, to play that card, it's very rare, if at all, anyone ever says, oh, we want to take them to Universal Studios in Orlando. It's always Disney World.
Okay, I have a question. Why are some parks called Disneyland and some parks
Disneyland is California. That's the original.
Disneyland Paris.
Because they're smaller and their land size, and World is the biggest one. It's world size. Is what
so
I had
is Walt Disney World the only world
yes.
of
the
Disney?
Only world.
Yes.
It's the largest one. They have a huge amount
and
of
then
land.
the rest are Disneylands.
Disneylands. Yeah.
No, because you've got what? Tokyo Disney Sea, Shanghai Disneyland,
Hong Kong Disneyland,
Tokyo Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Florida's the only world.
Disneyland, California.
And then it's Disney World because it's a world.
But it's also it's encompassing 4 parks, isn't it?
6 if you want to include the water parks as well.
Yeah, and Disney Springs and countless hotels and golf course.
Yeah, it's huge.
So on and so forth. Yeah, but what's interesting though is we talk about this about Universal, but much closer to home, I see adverts for Disneyland Paris. When was the last time you saw any advert or any mention of Europa Park in England? Or
Never.
Fantasyland?
Yep.
Never.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And those are much closer,
true.
much more accessible. You can get to Fantasyland in a short flight, which costs, comparatively nothing compared to going to Orlando.
Even compared to Disneyland.
Yeah.
I see more adverts for Flamingo Land in this country than I do for those. And it's a tiny little park.
I think down south we see no adverts for Flamingo Land.
It doesn't surprise me. Strange, isn't it? But I think that's going to be Universal's biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Hurdle.
Challenge.
Yes, challenge, that's the right word. Is getting people who don't already know that Universal exists as a theme park company to be aware that they are a theme park company.
And a big deal.
Yeah.
A huge deal.
I think we're going to see marketing campaigns starting maybe 2 years out. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little 3 or 4 part TV show, a little documentary showing the the
epic. That
from
won't come
breaking
out till
ground.
after, to be fair,
I don't know, but if they tease that in the run up to it opening, I think if they showed that beforehand and showed what it was about, then that would get some people who are not normally into that stuff going, okay.
I don't think they'll release anything like that beforehand because they'll want people to see it.
Okay, they might do something about their existing parks then.
Yes, I could see that.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's a teaser.
Yes, I could see that.
And perhaps tie-ins with the IPs they're using.
And I think I think you're probably right. That's the one thing that's going to make it stand out in this country that no other theme park in the UK or really in Europe kind of. Yeah, no, you've got, isn't it Arthur and the Invisibles at some park?
Yeah, and there's an Uncharted has a ride at Portaventura.
Yeah, but for the most part, like for the IPs that you're talking about with Universal, Jurassic World, Minions,
major IPs,
whatever they're going to be, we don't know. Obviously, at this point, that is probably the thing they're really going to have to double down on to reach out to the people that don't know they exist.
I wonder if they'll bring back the Ride the Movies tagline over here.
I doubt
to get people to understand the concept.
I doubt it.
I think they should.
I don't. I think we moved away from that a long time ago, and for good reason, because it's not Ride the Movies anymore. I mean, it kind of is. It kind of is, to be fair. But it's not. They got rid of that tagline a long time ago. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting
to see what they do, what they come up with.
Yeah,
their awareness campaign is going to be
huge. Yeah, it's going to have to be very, epic. Very different. It is. It's going to be very different from anything they've done before.
I think we're going to see nationwide, not just like TV spots. I think we're going to see billboards, bus.
Oh my God! Tell me.
We have to have the giant billboards.
I hope
we won't, because
you don't really see them in Orlando anymore. Do you? I remember there was such a big thing of visiting.
Can we have the 3-sided ones that change? They'd be awesome.
The moving ones.
Yeah.
Such a huge part of going to Orlando on those first sort of 3 or 4 trips of like driving to Disney World or driving to Universal and seeing or driving from the airport and seeing like the Transformers one or the Potter one. It was awesome.
Look, the way that Danny brought us in from the airport last time, he brought us along and we saw.
It's so cool.
Saw all of those. I was like, yes.
I still, when we drive out of Orlando International towards wherever we're staying and we start seeing those billboards, it's exciting.
It is. It's awesome.
It's getting really exciting.
I hope we get
getting close now.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
The one that always stands out, and it's not Universal, sadly, was the Tower of Terror one.
Yeah.
As you come out.
That was awesome.
Yeah. And they got rid of that, which is
I know.
awful.
So awesome.
I do like the Tower of Terror.
Me too.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move on?
I guess.
It's going to be interesting to see because you're right. Apart from Disneyland Paris, they don't have any competition quite at that same level.
No, they
so
don't.
I think a lot of it's going to be educating the public on this is what we do. Yeah. We're kind of like Disney, but not the same.
Well, we just have to help them.
Yeah, I mean that's
So we need to. So that's it. We all need to just start walking around with sandwich boards and.
Universal T-shirts.
Yeah, handing out flyers.
And over the next 5 years, let's try and do some of the UK theme parks and do an episode on each as we do them.
Well,
don't forget Scotland's got some as well.
Hopefully things are coming that will make that easier.
Yeah. Everything is crossed.
Dawn.
And to wrap up this episode, we continue our ongoing segment called The Universal Difference. And this month, we are looking at the bubble.
The bubble.
Dawn, this is something you talked about a lot since we met you, actually. I remember one of the first conversations we had sat outside the Backwater Bar talking about going to Universal and stuff, and the bubble was something you talked about from day one, and you've talked about it a lot on the podcast.
This is something we talk about at home quite often.
Because that's what draws me back.
That's what sold you on it in the first place, I think.
But I got sold on Disney first, I'm afraid.
To be honest, whichever way got you there.
So what is the bubble to you then, Dawn?
You're just fully immersed. It's like you kind of walk, especially... So I didn't really get this with Phantasialand as much. I didn't get... Disneyland Paris was okay, and Disneyland California was okay, but Disney World... and Universal Orlando, they're both, that's where I get the bubble feeling, the fully immersive feeling, because it's not just, because you kind of go in and you're literally...
I mean, I think the thing that you've always said when we talked about this is that you kind of arrive and then until you actually leave to go home, you are there.
That's
it's like
the bubble.
Everywhere you go, everything you do.
Theming.
Yeah, no, but even outside the theming, it's when it's like
everything with it. Yeah, it's once you set foot on Universal Orlando property, you are in the bubble. That's your hotel, the walking paths to the parks, City Walk, the water taxis, the transportation. So here's a question then. We agree that that's the bubble, is being immersed in Universal from the minute you set foot on Universal property. Has Epic Universe being built now not on that initial Universal Orlando property? Do you think that's changed the bubble for Orlando?
I think, because the thing, when we went back earlier this year, we went to Epic first for a few days and then we moved to the OG parks. And we did say that it didn't quite feel like a Universal park.
Yes.
Yet. it felt like we went to Disney and then to Universal. Like we were actually looking forward to checking into Sapphire Falls and going back into islands.
The thing about Epic is, if you're staying in Helios, it is a bubble, but it's a very, very small bubble. If you're staying at Stella Nova like we were, it's kind of a bubble because there's nothing else around there, but it's not a bubble in the same.
I still think it is because it's only like an 8-minute walk to the park from Stella Nova.
It's still in a bubble,
yeah,
technically in a sense, but it just doesn't feel like a universal bubble.
There's not much. Well, there's nothing really outside of Epic.
No.
What I think we like about the bubble at the OG parks is there's so much to do within it. It's not just 2 theme parks; it's everything which surrounds
City
them.
Walk, the water taxis. Just like even staying at the Sapphire Royal Pacific hotels or any other hotels on site. Yeah, Epic just feels at the moment because it's so far away.
Yeah,
it's it feels separate.
So and there's coherency. It's like when you're within the bubble. Let's say you're staying at Sapphire Falls, which is just our favorite hotel by a mile. Once you're there, everything is curated. You walk a lovely pathway to the parks. Next, little boats going past you, wonderful landscaping. You get into City Walk. You've got, again, it's very well laid out. You've got the countless restaurants that you can go to without having to get an Uber, or drive. You've got 2 theme parks. You've got like countless entertainment options, all within, sort of a 5-10 minute pleasant stroll.
Yes.
And that's what makes me wonder about the UK park, whether it would still feel like being in a bubble.
I think so.
I think it will. I think that's kind of what Universal like doing. But the thing is, once you're in that bubble, from Universal's perspective, they are getting all of your money.
They are.
They're getting all of it. They're getting you staying in their rooms at the hotels. They've got you eating at their restaurants 2 or 3 times a day. They've got you drinking at their bars, spending time in their theme parks, doing your shopping, everything. If you don't leave that bubble, all of your money that you spend is going straight into Universal's pocket.
So I wonder how many hotels will be around that area. I know it looks like there's going to be like Helios in Epic. There's going to be a hotel on site.
And then I wonder if there's going to be
sort of less
at this point,
expensive hotels around the area.
I think initially they'll have that in Park 1, and they will probably have, like Universal Orlando does, there'll be like a Hilton or a Doubletree or whatever within a reasonable distance that will be partner hotels. The same with Alton Towers. If you go Alton Towers on their website and look to book a hotel, you've obviously got, and to be fair, Alton Towers is probably the closest thing in the UK that we have to being in that bubble, because they've got like 2 hotels and then the little hobbity huts and then the big log cabin-y things, and now there's those stargazing pods as well.
Yeah.
And you've got the mini golf and stuff like that. So that's probably the closest we've got.
All they're really missing is a sort of entertainment district.
Yes, they don't really have. It's one thing we've noticed when Tracy and I have stayed there for like a couple of days. There's not really anything to do on a night.
Yeah, that's what Dawn didn't like about Phantasialand. After the park shut at sort of 5 p.m, we were in our hotel.
That's the same as Epic.
Yeah.
Universe as well. After the park shut.
Yeah, but the park doesn't shut till like you could quite comfortably sit.
That's true.
You could quite comfortably stay in Epic till 10:30, 11 o'clock. If the park closing's 10 o'clock, you could still be in there at 11.
Yeah, well, it's 9 at the moment, though, isn't it? They've reduced it.
It was 9 when we were there.
But there was nothing like Phantasialand. If park shut at 5, 6 p.m.
And also Disneyland. The thing that you didn't like there was the parks open late, but we weren't spending the money to stay at a Disneyland hotel or the very expensive one connected to California. No, California. We had to walk along. You leave the parks and then you're walking along a street. Just a normal street, and you have.
Wait, what hotel was?
We stayed at whatever one of the. Like a Marriott or something. I'm not sure. We stayed at like a normal hotel at Disneyland in California. Remember, and you didn't like it because we left the parks. We walk along the street. There'd be like people begging outside on the sidewalk, and then you'd be walking past McDonald's, and it just kind of you left the parks,
lost the bubble,
and you lost the bubble.
Yeah, that's what I think Hollywood's the same because it doesn't have its own on-site hotels. Not that we've been, but I know enough about it that you're having to leave Hollywood. I mean, to talk about our sister podcast, I got around to listening to a rush of fear from a few weeks ago because Maddie and her wife Lindsay went to Halloween Horror Nights out in Hollywood last year. And it was quite interesting listening to them talk about a Universal park that just it sounds so very different to what we're used to.
Yeah. The bubble is quite a hard thing to describe.
It
because
is.
On paper, it doesn't sound that amazing. It's like, oh, you have a hotel and then you don't have to leave the hotel, if you don't want to, or there's some restaurants. But it kind of makes the whole experience more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
does.
Because it
just makes everything easy and pleasant.
It's not just that as well. It comes down to, I've got another question about Orlando at this point, but what it also comes down to is, like Dawn said, a feeling of immersion, and that comes down to the team members. So everyone that you encounter, be the staff in the hotel, the staff in whatever your little... If we talk about specifically the UK park at this point, if you're going to have that bubble, you're going to have your little mini city walk, and all your team members that you encounter are going to have the same training. So it's that continuity of service the way throughout the resort, that that you're constantly, that you're immersed at Universal. And that's a big deal for me, because Tracy and I talk about it a lot, that a lot of the memories that we take home from a Universal vacation are those interactions with team members. And it's a huge part of it for me.
Yeah.
So just going back ever so slightly, we talked about Epic feeling odd, being in the bubble, staying at like a Portofino or a Royal Pacific, a Hard Rock, the Sapphire Falls, or even Aventura, I guess, to that point.
Or Cabana.
Yeah.
But Cabana's a 20-minute walk away or a bus ride. The question was actually going to ask, do you feel the same about Dockside and Surfside then?
I mean, it's a little bit further out and separated by a bus. So it's a hard one, because I think it loses a little bit of the bubble if you are having to get on that form of transportation, because a boat is a fairly romantic form of transportation. It doesn't feel like, it feels more like a ride than transport. You get in the boat to the hotels and the waterway, but getting on what is a fancy city bus, kind of.
But would it feel the same if we stayed at, for example, the Sapphire Falls, but went to Epic?
Well, we've done that, and it does kind of feel like that. It feels like you're leaving one bubble and then you are transported into another bubble.
And I think that's very much what Epic's going to be, because the future plans for Epic, from what we've heard, is it's going to be another Universal Orlando-sized campus, but down there.
Well, I've got a question about the buses then. So does it make a difference with the buses now they've changed them all out and they've got the full wrap so you can't see out the windows? Does that help keep you in the bubble now? Personally, I hate it. I like to be able to see outside, but
I think, I'm not sure about you, Dawn, but for me, like, the part of the bubble is the lack of friction. Everything is easy.
Fair.
Getting around is easy.
Yeah.
And I think that anything which puts barriers in the way of that kind of...
So the journey from Epic to the OG parks, or the journey from Surfside and Dockside to Islands or something, do you have to use roads that are not owned by Universal?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, that then, I think, brings you out of the bubble.
Yeah.
So with Disney World, have they joined all four parks in a sense that they have all the roads linking?
Yeah, that's the weird one, because in Disney you're on buses as well, but you still kind of feel like you're in the bubble
because they own
exactly.
the property.
That's all their land and their roads.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing, because I've never thought about it until I brought the question up. But I always feel like I'm in the Universal bubble if we're at Dockside and Surfside. To be fair, I would actually argue more so, because we're in that sweet spot of being midway between the OG parks and Epic Universe at that point. So for me, Dockside and Surfside... I think when you're at the
hotel, you're in the bubble. But are you in the bubble when you're being transported between the hotel and the parks?
I'm usually recording podcast stuff at that time. So
I think it helps that you're on a bus and you haven't got people who just go grocery shopping. Everybody's on that bus for the same reason.
Yeah, going to Universal.
Yeah.
So that helps you think
so
about...
you're listening to conversations and everybody's talking about the same things. And especially coming home, people are either the sleep or the buzzing over experiences I've had.
You think about the last time we got one of the last times we got a bus to Universal from Dockside. We got talking to that British couple about the podcast, and we were told they were going to Horror Nights. We were all going to Horror Nights. If you get on the bus from your hotel after 4 o'clock, everyone's going to Horror Nights. Everyone's buzzing. You have a relationship there with those people. We got talking to them. They gave us they'd done little 3D printed art, the clowns. I've still got mine. So from that point of view, what's going on outside the window isn't as relevant, I think, is what you're saying, because you're still kind of caught up in that camaraderie of everyone, as everyone's there for the same person. I think it would for the same reason. Everyone's there for the same reason. I think it would be different if you were on public transport doing it and you're on with like random people.
I think that's what I was thinking more of being.
It's a really good point that Tracy brought up. I like that a lot. I wouldn't have thought of that, because that makes a big difference.
You're right. It's Universal buses and the drivers are Universal drivers, and it's kind of like it's a fun transport. It's not transport.
Yeah.
And occasionally you get the Mia's transport, which I hate because I hate those steps. But the good thing about the Mia's transport, I mean, apart from you can see outside, and I do like to look at Orlando, is they'll either have a movie playing you can hear, or more often than not, you can hear the Universal music, because there's not as much opportunity to talk to people on those buses. So you've got this music, so it's setting up your day.
And you leave a Universal hotel, which is a bubble of its own, and then you get into Universal or some sort of transport, and then you get out into the continuation of the Universal bubble. No, I'd say if you're at a Universal hotel, the bubble continues.
Yeah,
I think the bubble's a state of mind.
It's definitely a state of mind.
Again, I think the closest thing we have over here is probably Alton Towers. I think Legoland has a hotel and stuff, but I don't know whether it has like a shopping and dining, and I think that is something that Universal in Bedford's going to have to bring, and I think they will. I think they've said, haven't they, there'll be some sort of mini city walk, and that's not something we're used to over here. I mean, obviously, if you've been to Disneyland Paris, we haven't, but I know they have a downtown Disney there, don't they?
They do, but it's not quite the same.
Okay.
Have we been?
Yeah, it feels a bit, for lack of a better word, tacky.
Where?
Like we went to that Irish pub and we had a couple of beers, before going into. Remember we went to Pride at Disney Studios in Paris with Diana and Kat.
I think I've blocked it out.
Okay, well we went to have some drinks before Pride, and we went to like an Irish pub.
Oh yes, okay.
And like there were people like doing lines of in the toilets in this Irish pub.
Yeah.
In downtown Disney.
Oh, you got the authentic Irish experience. I was going to say,
we're talking Irish dancing here, right?
That was keeping you in the bubble. That's a perfect bubble. Like, you talk about immersion. There you go. Sorry, all our Irish listeners. I am joking, by the way, unless it's Stuart Mallet and you can.
Oh, it's Joe.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, buddy.
So you've got me thinking now, because Universal Japan, you get on a train. And it's literally you go to I think it's called Universal City is the station, and it's the last stop on the track. And you get off there, and you literally step off the train, and you step into that bubble, and you walk past the hotels into City Walk, and then towards the gates of the park, and that's like its own. You got me thinking about bubbles now.
It's interesting. It's different, isn't it? Because
and how I was going to say how each area. The bubble is different,
because it's very easy to create a bubble when you have multiple hotels and multiple theme parks, like Disney World, like Universal Orlando, and they're very much anomalies.
I think to have a bubble, you need a theme park, a hotel, and something else. Another place to spend time, because otherwise it's just a theme park attached to a hotel. In lots of places. I think you need that third space.
Is that why Disneyland Paris doesn't feel that much like a bubble?
I think so. Because it is at downtown Disney, but I don't like spending time there.
That doesn't feel like Disney Springs.
No.
Well, it's not, because Disney Springs is freaking massive.
I know.
Yeah. It's huge.
You could spend 2 days in there. Like we hadn't...
I do like Springs.
We went to Disney Springs when it was still downtown Disney in like 2013, And then we went back for the first time in 2020, and that place, I did not recognise
We got lost.
I was like, what is this place now?
The only bit that I recognise that hasn't really changed is down near World of Disney. That little corner.
The top end is a little bit where House of Blues and the Cirque du Soleil building was. That really hasn't changed.
I didn't really remember that.
Down where the boathouse is and Morimoto Asia and Jock Lindsay.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place.
It really is. Nice. I really like what they've done with it.
It doesn't feel like Disney though.
No, it's probably my favourite part of Disney, actually, thinking about it. It doesn't feel like Disney at all.
Yeah, I think if you're in City Walk in Orlando, it feels like Universal, whereas Disney Springs doesn't feel like Disney. It just feels like an outdoor shopping centre.
I'm still salty they got Gideon's, because I think that's a much better fit for Universal.
I agree, much better than Voodoo Donuts.
Love Gideon's. Not so much the
There's a queue.
It's more
we queued an hour.
It's more the merchandise I like than the actual.
But just the actual theming of it. Like, let's be honest. Let's go off on a topic, let's go off on a tangent, shall we? I love Voodoo Donut, but do I go there all the time? No. Every time I have a donut, do I go, it was okay? Yes.
Yeah.
But it fits City Walk. But Gideon's again,
would have been perfect.
Cookies, they're all right. The ones we had were okay. They're expensive. They're good. The theme, way better fits City Walk.
Yeah.
The Horror Nights at Gideon's.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually, when we went to Gideon's, Michelle and I got talking to, so they had a couple of cast members out, like keeping people entertained and giving out menus. Turns out she was a scenic artist for Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh, wow.
She's coming on UUGBP soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I've lost it. I was going to say something, I can't remember what.
I think the other part of the bubble, the other part which kind of matters for me, the bubble, is that the options outside the theme park and the hotels also are original, unique. It's not just like a chain restaurant which you can get anywhere.
Like a Five Guys or a...
Exactly. It's something like, I know that Cowfish isn't an original, but it's kind of original. And there's 3. Big Fire. It's... Yeah,
Voodoo Donuts, Antojitos, like pretty much, other than the Hard Rock and Bubba Gump, everything else is
that you can't go elsewhere.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, and to hear what's going on with Hard Rock, I'm not sure how much longer that'll be there, because apparently they're in severe financial difficulties.
That's a huge piece of real estate in City Walk if that goes, because you assume like the Hard Rock Live would go as well.
How would that affect the hotel? Venue.
Interesting. I guess you just go generic music themed, I guess. I don't know.
Isn't that the biggest Hard Rock restaurant in the world?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
I thought it just made me thought we need to get some guests on here at some point. I've already had someone who was quite a player in the UK theme park industry, but I think Seth would be an interesting person to get on here and talk about the UK park.
Yeah, he understands the US parks or the Orlando parks better than almost anyone.
It would be interesting. I don't know whether Seth's ever been over here,
I'm sure he will be in 2031.
Oh, I have no doubt he will be here. Yeah, it'd be interesting. There's so many different...
We need to get the guest room ready.
...takes on this park.
It would be interesting to get other perspectives, because we are all huge Universal fans who live a long way from Universal, and therefore having a Universal park coming to almost our doorstep is very exciting for us. So it'd be interesting to hear takes from people who this isn't going to be around the corner from them, and for them it'll be more of a destination to visit.
I think the precedence for theme parks in the US and Asia is there. We don't really have that in Europe, really. Yes, there's theme parks there. And it'd be interesting, because I don't remember a lot about when Disneyland Paris got built. But to have something of this caliber built in this country is very interesting. I still don't really understand why they're building it in this country, but okay.
Don't question it. I told you that before.
Yeah, but I want an excuse to get out of this country.
I mean, my take is it's the London tourism market.
Yeah.
It's, it's just ready to tap into.
It's just
and then there's a lot of big theme parks already in Europe as well.
True, that's true. Yeah, that probably makes more sense.
And they know there'll be the major theme park in this country the second they open.
Yeah. I just wish that other countries would realise that there's more to Britain than London.
Yeah.
We've got 4 countries and a lot of land. And people who live north of London that would really, really, really love a big theme park. Sorry.
You've got Alton Towers and Flamingo Land. You're okay.
Flamingo Land's an hour away, and Alton Towers is about 3.5 hours away.
3.5 hours from you, wow.
At least, yeah.
No, it's about 3.5 hours.
How long is it from us?
Around, well, more than that. It's 4.5 hours.
Because the problem is, you can get to about where it is very quickly, and then it's all back roads and little country lanes to actually get to it.
Yeah, I read a sort of a post somewhere recently by an American who had come over to do a UK theme park trip. And he ranked them. Actually, he had Thorpe Park as the number 1. And then I think Alton Towers was his number 4 or 5. And he said he spent like an hour trying to get to the theme park, just stuck in traffic. Because he went on like during half term on a Saturday or something. But he said it was absolutely mind blowing to him. He's been to theme parks all around the world, and he's never crawled through a small village trying to get to one.
Yeah. I mean, even when you pull in the entrance of Alton Towers, it feels like about 3 miles before you actually get to the car park.
Yeah, and you can't see anything from outside.
No, that's how it was. Yes, exactly. And that's, I think Universal have kind of said they've got the same restrictions, haven't they? Or at least they're going to be sympathetic.
They have said that their tallest ride could be sort of 300 feet tall or something, didn't they?
I think they've also, but I think they also did say that they want to be sympathetic to the skyline. So it's not going to be this 300-foot coaster standing 300 feet up in the air. It might be built in a dip, so you only get to see like the top 100 foot of it or something like that, I think.
What would be the nearest airport? Luton?
Yeah, probably.
So 300 feet may not be feasible.
They have said there's going to be.
But prepare, unless it's going to be one that's sunken.
That's what I've just said.
Sorry, I wasn't listening to you, obviously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will continue to not listen to you. Like any good wife.
Oh.
Poor Lee's getting bullied.
Oh, poor Lee.
Oh. There's a lone tear just run down his cheek.
Is that everything we have to say on the bubble? Our favourite part about Universal?
I don't care about it anymore.
Oh, Lee, you do.
I don't. Yeah, cool. Interesting.
Well, that brings us to the end of this 10th episode of the podcast, and we will continue to discuss the upcoming arrival of the UK park.
But in the meantime, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search UUGBP and email us at universalgreatbritain@gmail.com.
Be sure to check out the other podcasts in the UUOP network, the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast.
And of course, because it's coming up to that time, Rush of Fear, our year-round Halloween Horror Nights podcast.
The Theme Park Duo for SoCal Theme Park and Haunt News, as well as general theme park info.
Taste of Universal, or Universal Food and Beverage dedicated podcast.
The Portkey Passport, our adult-centric Disney podcast.
Which I think's just made its comeback.
Good.
Big Dumb Stuff, our comedy, pop culture, and probably best podcast on the network, and themed entertainment podcast.
Theme Park Throwdown, a weekly battle between your favourite theme parks.
Find them on all podcast platforms, but also the Fudge Factor, helping you plan the best Universal Orlando vacation. Find them on their YouTube channel for in-park vlogs.
And we'd also love for you to help shape the conversation. So if you have any topics that you think you'd like us to cover, send them in to us.
But for now, that'll be us signing off. We hope you'll join us next month on the unofficial Universal Great Britain podcast.
Gian Canny.